Greetings, my lords and my ladies. Welcome to another episode of Chronicles of the Immortals, where we uncover stories of our beloved heroes. And tonight, I will tell you the tale of Hammurabi, the king of law. He ruled an empire of dust and sun. He commanded armies, built monuments, and forged a legacy that would outlast empires of gold and silver. But his greatest weapon wasn't a sword, it was a law book. This is the story of Hammurabi, the Babylonian king, who looked upon chaos and said, "Let there be justice." In the 18th century BC, Mesopotamia was a fractured land, a chessboard of varying city-states. Into this world stepped Hammurabi. When he inherited the throne of Babylon, it was a modest, relatively powerless city on the banks of the Euphrates. He was just one king among many. But Hammurabi was a master strategist, playing the long game. For the first decades of his reign, he focused not on conquest, but on consolidation. He built canals for agriculture, fortified his city walls, and shrewdly formed alliances. Alliances he would later break when the time was right. Then, in a stunning series of military campaigns, he struck. Using clever diplomacy and overwhelming force, he toppled his former allies. He conquered Lhasa. He humbled Assyria. He defeated Elam. In less than a decade, Hammurabi unified the entire region under his rule, creating the old Babylonian Empire. For the first time, one man ruled all of Mesopotamia. But ruling it was a different challenge altogether. How do you govern millions of people from different cities, with different customs, different gods, and different ideas of right and wrong? The law was arbitrary. Justice depended on your wealth, your status, or the mood of the judge. Hammurabi knew that to hold his empire together, he needed a universal standard, and so he created his masterpiece. The Code of Hammurabi. 282 laws, meticulously inscribed on a towering black stone stele for all to see. It was a revolutionary concept, a written, public legal code that applied to everyone. Well, almost everyone. The code was stark, severe, and famously brutal. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But its principle was groundbreaking. The punishment should fit the crime. It established a scale of justice, with penalties based on the social status of the victim and the perpetrator. It covered everything. Laws on property. If a man steals an ox, he shall pay 30 times its value. Laws on family. If a son strikes his father, his hands shall be cut off. It set prices for goods and services, established rules for contracts, and laid out wages for laborers. It was, in essence, the first operating system for a complex society. It created order from chaos. It wasn't about fairness by our standards, but it was about consistency. For the first time, people knew the rules. This was Hammurabi's genius. He understood that true power isn't just control by fear, it's the ability to create a stable, predictable, and functional society. His code gave his empire a framework to thrive economically and socially long after his armies were gone. Hammurabi's empire didn't long survive his death. It fractured and was eventually conquered, but his code endured. It influenced the laws of the Assyrians, the Hebrews, and the Greeks. Its principles echo in legal systems across the world to this day. He wasn't just a conqueror, he was an administrator, a statesman, a lawgiver. So remember the name Hammurabi. Remember the king who looked out at his world and gave it not just an empire, but order. He gave it law. Thank you for watching and see you again in the Infinity Kingdom. Bye bye.